Hey guys, welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. Today, my guest is Luis Rivas. Thank you so much for joining me, Luis. Thank you. This is a huge opportunity for me. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Ryan.
I'll just get right into this. How did you get into investing?
I've always liked real estate. I would say probably like through college, I was always thinking about real estate. And then when my wife and I got married, we bought our first house, and then we started thinking about investing in condos. And we bought a couple of condos here in Ottawa, and we didn't know what we know now, Ryan. Like we were just kind of like newbies, and we bought these condos, and they were not good investments. And we sold them after a few years of holding them, and we kind of broke even. I didn't really get into real estate in the way you see it today until my friend Alfonso invited me to a boot camp, and then the rest is kind of history. Yeah,
Absolutely.
he showed me all the new language of multifamily, and then I started following him and his example.
Yeah. Alfonso is very inspirational. He's very
Yeah,
inspirational.
yeah, he is.
What motivates you? What motivates you to invest?
Well, my definition of motivation and inspiration is like I think a lot of people use those two words interchangeably. They'll say I'm motivated by, but really for me, motivation is something that comes within. It's like a really strong, burning desire to like win and to just be a boss and to be remembered by like by my children and my children's children. I really want to make sure that like I make a good example, and so I self motivate. I'm inspired by people like my wife and my kids and the people in the group in the inner circle at where we all strive to become the best. But I would say I'm self motivated, and I'm motivated by I'm actually like you're asking me a what's your why kind of question, and part of my why is like what my ancestors did. I have ancestors that came from Europe to Central America, and they bought a lot of land, and it's just almost like in my DNA. It's really hard to describe, but it feels good. It feels like I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. That that's a very interesting way of saying it.
Yeah.
Could you explain to me what investing is in your own way?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Investing is putting money and time to work. And part of investing for me is doing the due diligence, doing the homework, doing the investigation on how the investment looks today, and try and project what it will look like in the future. So part of investing for me is having a game plan, heavily rooted in underwriting and heavily rooted in like doing kind of like a forensic deep dive on what the investment will be, and then over time it's for me something that will pay me cash flow as it goes along, and with the refi it'll help me increase my wealth. So it's a way of appreciating my money and my portfolio, as well as getting paid for it on a monthly basis. That's what investing is to me.
Yeah. This is not to undermine you. It's just like a very curious question. Why should somebody like me, somebody my age, somebody who doesn't know what investing is, why should they care about investing?
It's a really powerful question, Ryan. I think the world is shifting. I know the world is shifting really fast. And if someone like you is not equipped with the right tools and the right processes and the right, um, I don't want to say interest, but just like the right trajectory, you may be doomed for failure, because it's a really scary world. Things are changing extremely fast. A lot of your generation may not be able to own homes. Not you. You'll own multiple buildings. I'm sure you'll be a multimillionaire by the time you're 18. But the majority of your peers, Ryan, are looking at are like turning a blind eye towards investing, towards financial literacy, towards something as trivial as like buying their own first home. Even though my definition of that dream is has changed. I think a lot of people your age are they might not be set up for success, and they might run into some really hot water when it comes to like day-to-day living, owning a home. Um, you know, it's life's becoming more and more expensive, or should I say the value of our dollar is becoming so devalued that it takes so much to buy some of the things that, your mom and dad and myself, it would have cost a lot less when we were your age. So inflation, in one word, inflation is something that your age, your category, your demographic needs to learn about and protect themselves from.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Brian. You're the best.
Do you invest passively or actively?
I do a bit of both. I'm more passive. I'm a busy guy and I don't really have time to be so hands-on with tenants, with issues, with turnover. So I tend to invest passively just because of my time. It's just what I enjoy, and it's a way of me scaling up. I find if you're too active, it's a little bit tougher to scale, in my opinion.
Yeah. What types of real estate do you buy?
I buy multifamily buildings in Canada across the country, and I I tend to focus on buildings that are commercial with a commercial mortgage, which means there's 6 units and up.
Yeah, Alfonso has been promoting the multifam a lot recently.
Multifam, yep.
How do you evaluate risk versus reward in a deal?
Again, it's with the underwriting. So we have underwriting tools. Underwriting simply means analysis, analyzing the numbers to see what the financial performance of a building is today and how we could potentially increase that over time. And so we use things in our calculation like appreciation of the property, mortgage pay down, forced appreciation if we increase the value by maybe adding a garage or an extra bedroom. These profit centers, these profit centers give us a good idea of how to forecast future value. And we also take into account like the markets, like the towns, the countries, the tax structure, these sort of things in that same analysis to see how it's going to appreciate over time. And we have certain markers that we want to hit. And if our projections are telling us that it's not going to hit that, then we typically don't we typically don't do that investment.
Mhm. That understandably it makes sense, yeah. What has been your most successful investment so far?
I would say the most successful investment, if you're talking strictly about equity and owning property, it's a 21 unit in Brockville, Ontario. And this 21 unit is it's tripled in value since we acquired it in 2020. During the COVID pandemic, the value of multifamily assets it shot up, and then afterwards, when the pandemic was over, a lot of other assets dropped back down to earth, but multifamily kind of retained its value just
Yeah.
simply because it was. I don't want to say it was pandemic proof, but it was darn near close. And so investors in that asset class, the owners are kind of holding on to their buildings and they're not really selling them for lower, like they're holding their value. So the 21 unit is a great example of how over a long period of time, well, only 5 years in this case, it might seem like a long time to some people, but to some others it's not that long. And over that period of time, a, a three time like a increasing the value by three times is pretty phenomenal.
And I think it's a very short span of time. 5 years and your 21 unit tripled in value.
Yeah,
I think it's not too shabby.
not too shabby at all.
Do you have any numbers?
On that building.
Yeah.
Yeah, we bought the building for 1.4 million dollars back then. So that was around 66,000 per unit.
Mhm.
And now in that market, they're going for about 175,000 a door. So 175,000, it gives a price tag of $3.675 million. Yeah. And we haven't done anything like earth-shattering, or it's not rocket science. It's just basically keeping the tenants happy, making sure that, yeah, 3.67 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're right, it did triple in value.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's very impressive.
over time, and so the more units you have that over time are tripling in value, you could trigger something called a refi in in 5 years time, and pull that additional equity, or maybe 80% of that equity, and you could repeat. You could just keep buying more and more buildings. You could buy Lamborghinis, you could buy private jets, you could buy other businesses. As long as you're continuing to churn that money around, you're basically just growing money with money and time.
So money works for you. Yeah.
Money never sleeps. Money doesn't call in sick. Money doesn't complain if if a job's too hard. Money just makes more money.
That's very, it sounds amazing. That do you have, are you allowed to say like what's your net income of that one particular building?
My net income. So I own, I don't know if I want to say, but I own like a percentage of that building with other partners. And
Mhm.
there's a few of us. And so I'm gonna say I own like a double-digit percentage of that building.
Okay, not
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
What has been your least successful investment and how did you learn from it?
I'm gonna revert back from those two condos I mentioned to you earlier. Um, we, I wouldn't even consider those investing. I would consider those speculating, because what my wife and I were aiming to do was to buy these condos pre-construction and rent them out, and then over time they're going to appreciate in value and hopefully pay us cash flow. This didn't happen, Ryan. Like the market in Ottawa didn't really pop for condos, and things moved along very, very slowly. So the issue there was that we didn't underwrite the deal. We didn't analyze the numbers. And with condos, now that I know what I know, condos, in my opinion, are like one of the worst investments, because there's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of fees, condo fees, for
Yeah.
the services in the building. And in the particular case of one of the condos, there was something called a special assessment, which means that there is, yeah, that's kind of the look I did. And they said, yeah, we have a special assessment. We have an issue with the heat pumps, and each owner is going to have to cough up an additional $3,000 or $4,000 on top of the fees that are charged on a monthly basis. And so this hurt a lot. And we learned quickly that if you are buying with a condo board, it's very risky, because these special assessments can pop up at any time.
What trends are you seeing in the real estate market right now and where specifically?
Okay. Trends in the marketplace. I'm seeing a great boom out in your area in Alberta, specifically Edmonton and between Edmonton and Calgary. Um, all the tertiary markets, which are the smaller towns, are also booming in Alberta. And I'm starting to see the same phenomenon in Saskatoon and its surroundings.
Mhm.
So some of the money is starting to shift over to the province next door in Saskatchewan. I'm starting to see a little bit of a wake up in Ontario again, and I feel like the last year and a half, it's been kind of sad and gloomy over here. But I'm seeing like a big resurgence. It's been really bumpy since COVID, Ryan, and some people have lost a lot of money, and the feeling in the market's been it's been a little bit crazy this year with our new government and the new government in the States and the tariff wars, and it's causing a lot of people to be very rigid and scared to take any steps forward. But I'm starting to see a big wake up in Alberta, a little wake up in Saskatchewan, and just the tiny sort of beginnings of the upward trend in the rest of Canada, like in Ontario, for example, in Quebec.
Yeah. How do you manage your properties?
I usually outsource that. I usually outsource that to another company or companies, and then we manage them. And we manage the property managers, and that's a term called asset management. We just basically make sure that everything is on track. I don't typically manage any tenant turnover or toilet or issues with repairs or scheduled maintenance. I
Hmm.
sub that out to companies, and that helps drive where I invest. For example, we own a building in rural Saskatchewan, and property management is a it's tough in that area because there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of companies, and so we have to leverage caretakers.
Yeah.
So there's caretakers that either live there full time or they're working there full time, and then we keep an eye on them. We communicate with them. That's how we manage our properties.
Hmm. Um, do you have any advice for a starting out entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would say be consistent and be disciplined. And those two things will outweigh any talent or anybody who's like, a great talker or good looking. Like, if you're consistent and disciplined over time, you'll beat anybody. And one of the best ways I've found of staying consistent and staying disciplined is by getting a coach or a mentor, someone that's going to help keep you accountable. Accountability is a big thing, I think, in our society today. A lot of people don't like accountability, they shy away from it. But because they feel like they might be getting scolded or, getting their, you know, someone busting their chops because they want to do, they want to make sure you're on track. It's really accountability is about helping you achieve your goals and dreams. It's a support system that will help get you through those difficult times and help you remain consistent and disciplined. So I think getting a coach, mentor, being part of a community like the community we're in, I think that is paramount because when you're having bad days or bad weeks or bad moments, the community will help carry you to the next positive moment in your life.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
So
will be my last question because we're running out of time. Um, is there any book, resource, or person that majorly impacted your investment journey that you'd recommend to me and the viewers of this channel?
yeah, I would say the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a very strong book. It's an easy read. It's a book written a very long time ago by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill. And he lived with a never give up attitude. He had a son who was deaf, and they told him his son was never going to be able to hear, but he never accepted that answer, and he helped coach his son in order to regain the power of hearing. And his concept is if you believe in something and you ask for it and you truly believe that you deserve it and that's going to happen, you will receive it. So that's a concept that I live by. And recently, I'm reading this book here called Project 369, and Project 369 is it goes a little bit deeper into the Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is kind of like an intro. And then I would say the last book, especially for people your age, like young adults, young entrepreneurs like you, a lot of people talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, it's like a snack, right? It's like an intro. I prefer his second book, which is the cash flow quadrant, and the four main ways of making money in North America or in the world. I started talking to my kids about that book and showing them those concepts because for me that was transformational when I saw the cash flow quadrant and how it explained how people make money. I knew I wanted to be on the right side and have businesses and investments pay, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, making money pay you money. This was the concept that really appealed to me.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Great minds think alike. You,
Yeah.
I've noticed that only two people I've interviewed, you and Alfonso, have suggested Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich. Only you two. And you guys are the most successful investors in
Wow.
all of Wealth
Thank you.
Genius.
Thank you so much.
This is great information. I have the best three books ready to lined up to share.
Mm.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan. You're the best. I wish you the best.